What is going on, everybody? Today we are picking up where we left off on our aerosol job that we sprayed just yesterday. So since that time it has cured well overnight and it's ready for polishing. So what we're going to do here is remove a few specks of dirt out of the Clearcoat. So I just want to give you a better look at this finish inside. You can kind of see what the texture looks like for anybody who's wondering from the previous video. And here's a look at how modelly these hoods and roofs and trunks all come from the factory. By modelly, I mean patched up metallics all over this car. So that's a little disappointing that they leave the factory looking like that, but let's get that out of our heads and get on to this little piece of dirt that we're going to be removing right there. And there's a few other little ones that the camera doesn't really pick up. So we're going to start off by sanding those out with some 1500 grit sandpaper. Now, there are a lot of different systems on the market. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. When I'm doing this in a high production pace, I like to use a DA sander to remove the dirt. It does it quite a bit quicker and using it dry. This is kind of the old-fashioned way. It still works quite well and gets the job done without having to have a whole bunch of different materials. But we're going to be using the 3M system again because it's nice and simple. However, they do have additional things you can do to refine the scratches if you look further into the system, but I'm going to try and keep it simple with the minimal amount of products. So we're going to need the 1500 grit paper, a coarse compound, a swirl remover, and 2 appropriate pads. So the white pad for the coarse compound and the black pad for the light swirl mark remover. So it's best to use a block when you're sanding out any defects. It keeps everything getting cut down straight. If you use your fingers as well, what can happen is if you push with your finger, you can actually leave a little divot in the clear coat, and when you shine it back up, you're actually going to see that. So you can see after you sand it, we're left with this sort of matte look, the same kind of look that we would have had when we prepped the panel earlier, sanding it down with the gray Scotch-Brite pad in the previous video. That's normal, so don't freak out. And that's going to come right back up once we start shining it up with the polisher. Now, as there are many different choices for polishing systems, there's also quite a few different choices for polishing devices. So I'm going to be using an air-powered pneumatic one here just because it's a little bit more convenient, and I've misplaced my electric. But either one works, does the same thing, and there's 2 different styles. So there's a rotary one, which is what we're looking at now. That's only going to spin in one circle, one motion, and it's going to cut pretty aggressively. So for less experienced guys, this might not be the best choice, but you know, if you're polishing a big area, you want to become familiar with these ones because they'll shine up a panel a lot quicker. So I will show you the other one after this, and I'll talk a little bit more about the dual action polisher. So here again we have the 3M compound, and we're going to go over that spot repeatedly. You know, it's going to take probably about 4 to 5 minutes, I'm thinking, total going over this area. Maybe a little less. But basically what you want when you're done this portion is to wipe off the compound and be able to look all around from side to side and not see any trace of that matte area. So it can kind of have a little ghost look to it, and you really have to look hard for it. So you have to kind of just move your head around and make sure that that is completely gone before you move on to the next step. So what we're doing here is sanding. So that 1500 grit is being sanded to an even finer scratch using this compound. And that's basically closing up all of the 1500 scratches and giving us a nice shine. And one thing to keep in mind, what I'm showing you here is sort of a quicker way to polish. This is not a show car polishing job. This is get the defect removed from the clear coat, get it shined up reasonably well for a daily driver. If you're working on a darker color, you probably want to do the additional step. And I do have another video on polishing a black car you can check out, which includes those steps. There are even one-step polishes on the market that, you know, if you're not too fussy, like a used car lot kind of thing, that's you know, that's kind of what they're good for. But you just keep in mind what your expectations are and what you hope to get out of what we're doing here. So here's the dual action polisher, and you can see that just the way that it moves, it kind of leaves these pigtail looking things because it moves in a circle and it moves up and down. So what it is doing is it's creating a less aggressive cut, and it's a lot safer for guys that are newer, not to burn style lines and headlights and everything else that you can damage with a polisher if you're not careful. So it's going to take a little bit longer to bring scratches up. So typically if you're using a dual action sander like this, it's nice to finish as fine as you can with the hand paper. You can maybe, instead of using 1500, you can use 2000 or 3000. I think they even have up to 5,000 now, but it's been a while since I've been polishing day in, day out. So yeah, that's that. So I just want to show you guys what that looked like. You only really need one or the other though. So once you've eliminated all traces of the first sanding step, so you can no longer see any of that haze from when we first started sanding with the 1500 grit paper, we can move on to the swirl mark remover. So this is step 2 in the newer bottles of 3M. You'll see 2 on it. They have 1, 2, and 3. So we don't need to go all the way to 3 on this car. But make sure that you use different pads. So you want to have this black pad that never touches any of the coarse compound, or else you'll be polishing with a coarser mineral than intended. Now, what this is going to do, because it looks pretty good after step 1 in here, but if we were to bring that out into the sun and the sun hit it directly, you'd see a lot of hologram looking things, swirl marks. They give you a headache looking at them. They're quite an eyesore. So what we want to do is remove them by refining our first step a little bit further with this lighter compound. Now again, you'll probably want to spend about 3 or 4 minutes with this step here on an area that big. You want to go a little bit beyond where your first step was, just to make sure that you've gotten all of that. And the recommended speed settings for your polisher is between 12 and 2000 RPM. So any other types of defects could have been removed from the Clearcoat using the same method as before, whether it's runs or bugs or whatever ended up in your Clearcoat that you need to remove. Take them out with some 1500 grit and shine them back up using these 2 steps here. And if you want to go crazy, I say add that third one like I do in the black vehicle polishing video I did a while ago. So check that out. And give this video a like, leave me a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, the website, all those other great places. And that's it. So I guess I will see you at the next rodeo.